Welcome to the First Unitarian Universalist Church in Eugene. My name is Jennifer Hackett. My pronouns are she and her, and I'm delighted to be the ministerial intern of this church. With me today is the minister of our church, the Reverend Lois Van Leer, our music director, Mitch Davey, our worship associate Chris Olson, our collaborative pianist, Suzanne Giordano, and behind the scenes working Tet is the amazing Kat Johnson. Also joining us today is Jones Hollister, here with an important message from the Ministerial Search Committee. Welcome, Jones. And you are welcome to take it away.
I am so very glad to be here. Thank you. And hello, all. I am here to talk to you from your ministerial search team. And I want to start by thanking you so much for all of your input. It has been a lot. We've been asking for a lot. You've been hearing from us for a lot, we know. But the high response rate to the survey and the total number of you who attended focus groups and cottage meetings has really been so very helpful for us. Your search team is asking for a bit more before we feel like we've got enough information to be able to both describe our church well and to do a good job choosing minister for us to call as a congregation. We have a final cottage meeting today at 1 p.m. Next Sunday at 1 p.m. we'll have a disability focus group. The first attempt got derailed by tech issues, sadly, and how 2020. If you've not yet participated, do attend one of these meetings or email us. We're at UUCE search at this church. We want to hear your hopes for our new ministry. We're using that data to create a congregational record, which ministers who are searching for a new congregation will be able to read in December and January. That's what our timeline is. We have to get things done by the end of this month. We'll then have ministers express interest, we'll do interviews, and we'll have a minister for you to meet, hopefully in the spring. If we don't have a minister that we feel is a good fit, we will have an interim minister for a year because we do not want to call somebody that we do not feel is right for this congregation. More about that timeline and process will be explained soon as we wrap up this part, the gathering information part of our work. The final ask for your participation is focused on taking time together to consider what might get in the way of us calling the right minister and the way of that ministry being successful. The Beyond Categorical Thinking workshop is a time for us to look at those biases and assumptions that we have that it's time to clear out, like an item in the fridge that was comfort food, but we now know we're allergic to. The training isn't a lecture, it's a guided conversation in small groups and as a whole group, as well as some information sharing that will help us check for expiration dates in our mental refrigerators and look for those things that have hidden allergens in them. For me, it's those sneaky walnuts and those lessons from my childhood about race, gender, sexuality, and disability. Yes, I'm disabled and I still have ableist assumptions of my own lack of value that pop up now and then. So please fill out the concerns and benefits questionnaire that's linked in recent publicity about the Beyond Categorical Thinking training and join us on Saturday, November 21st. Sorry about the date typo on some of those things, so that we can have a rich conversation with a wide variety of congregates about who we are, what we are hoping for in ministry, and how those expired goods get in the way of us all. The Sunday service next week on the same topic is going to be great too. So I hope you join then as well. And thank you so much for trusting us to do this work. We take it very seriously and we do want to hear from you. And we are so very, very thankful to be part of this amazing congregation. Thank you.
Thank you, Jones, and thank you to the rest of the search team who is doing a lot of hard work at this point. Thank you for all the work you're doing. Thank you for saying yes to serving in this capacity. I'm the Reverend Lois Van Leer, and my pronouns are she, her, hers. And I join Jennifer in extending a welcome to all of you today. Welcome especially to any visitors we might have among us. So please fill out this form that's going to be in the chat right now. I'm so pleased that last week 5 people filled it out, and I was able to be in contact with several of them. Thank you for doing that. Both Jennifer and I look forward to answering any questions you may have. And if you can't find the form right now, please go to our website. A few announcements. No surprise, given where COVID is right now in our country, that the UUA has announced that the General Assembly, which is a yearly gathering of Unitarian Universalists from across the globe, will be held virtually in June. The benefit of this is, because it is virtual, it means so many barriers to attending it for many folks have been lifted. If you're interested in attending the General Assembly, which is where the business of our denomination gets done, as well as amazing amount of workshops are offered, if you want to be a delegate, this year is the chance to do it, and it's affordable for once. If you're interested to get more information, go to the UUA's website and look for information there on General Assembly. The second announcement is one I'm really excited about. It has to do with an event happening on December 18th, in which we are hoping that folks will share their winter holiday traditions, both in pictures and in videos, so that we can make a film that we can all watch together. But more importantly, Nadja Sanders and Barry Broadbent have agreed to coordinate a baked goods or special foods event that same day. In other words, you're going to be able to order these goods. People are going to offer their baked goods, and you can come by the church and pick them up. Look for more information in the newsletter, but start thinking about those holiday traditions you might have and how you can offer them and share them with the congregation. Just because the election has supposedly ended, it doesn't mean that the efforts of the UU the Vote campaign have ended. They're going to begin phone banking in Georgia today at noon. So if you want to participate, there's another link in the chat, or just Google UU the Vote and look under events. Barb Prentice, who's been coordinating our meals for the family night shelter, has said that, yay, we've completed 8 dinners successfully, and the sign up for future dinners is 84% full. We still need folks to bring food for the last 4 evenings. Information on how to bring food and what's needed can be found once again in our newsletter, The Weekly Connections. A reminder that not this Thursday, but a week from Thursday, many of us will be celebrating a holiday that's been known as Thanksgiving. But for Indigenous and First Nations persons on the East Coast, it has come to be known as a day of mourning. And the UUA has put together programs running next week that can inform us better about Thanksgiving and actually about a lot of other Indigenous concerns. And the link to those events is, again, going into the chat. If you didn't have an excuse to go into the chat before, now you do. There are at least 3 things being offered. I want to let you know that there are going to be films that are going to be shown during that sort of video workshopping. And one of them is going to be The Eagle and the Condor, which is a film that we were going to show last spring before we had to close our facility due to COVID. And finally, this Friday, November 20th, is known as the Transgender Day of Remembrance. It's annually observed on that day to memorialize those who have been murdered as a result of transphobia. And the people who have the highest rate of being murdered who are trans tend to be BIPOC women. The other thing is to know that it's not just a day of remembrance and assumptions that all trans people are going to be murdered. It's about the fact that trans people have survived, that they continue in spite of everything that has been done to eradicate them, and they're not going anywhere. So even as we take time on Friday to remember those lives that were tragically cut short, we will take a moment now to say to any of the trans folk or non-binary folk or agender people who are with us here today, you have a place at the table here. Your love for who you are. If you're ever concerned about your safety, your physical, emotional, spiritual safety, please reach out to us. You are not alone. And in these times, it is good for all of us to be together.
The Healing in Freedom by Reverend Gretchen Haley. Freedom has a rhythm to it, a longing our bodies know without words, a movement away from everything small and scared, a waking up to possibility. Healing backwards and forwards, even now, we are beginning again. Unafraid of this much mercy, tenderness, pleasure, we come to lean in, to learn the sound of liberation, like the sound of our names, receiving and releasing. We come to be free, no more than ourselves to call love the greatest liberty, to sing of loyalty, courage, and kindness, to remember we were all doing the best we can. Despair hasn't gotten us yet, nor overwhelm, which is a kind of miracle, surrounded as we are by this much beauty. Come, let us worship together.
For our meditation today, I am bringing you a song that I discovered. It's a meditation from colleagues who said that it was used a lot and received with so much love at General Assembly, our nationwide annual meeting in 2019. I've secured permission from the singer-songwriter Allie Halpert to use her song in the worship service today. Listen to the words and allow their message to sink in as a meditation. It's been a hard few weeks. You do not have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
Listen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go. Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Holy breath and holy name, will you ease this pain? Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. Loosen, loosen, baby, and you don't have to carry the weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go. The weight of the world in your muscles and bones. Let go, let go, let go.
Listen with me to the words of the Reverend Joan Javier Duval. Here Here's where you can lay it down. Lay down all that you have carried, the weight of the world that has rounded your back, leaving you aching and exhausted. Here's where the healing begins, where the burdens are set down and alongside one another's, their magnitude does not seem as great. Here is where the door is thrown open and the light can lift away the shadows, and what was hidden can now be seen. Here is where you can rest, where nothing is expected, but that you bring all of who you are into the presence of the holy and this loving community. Let us worship together.
Van Jones is an American news commentator, an author, and a lawyer. He is a co-founder of several nonprofit organizations, a 3-time New York Times bestselling author, a CNN host and contributor, and an Emmy Award winner. And he is a Black man in America. A week ago Saturday, he was asked by fellow host Anderson Cooper for his thoughts on the election results upon Biden being announced the winner. Listen with me to those words now.
Dan, what are your thoughts?
It's well, it's easier to be a parent this morning. It's easier to be a dad. It's easier to tell your kids character matters. It matters. Telling the truth matters. Being a good person matters. And it's easier for a whole lot of people. If you're Muslim in this country, you don't have to worry if the president doesn't want you here. If you're an immigrant, you don't have to worry if the president's going to be happier to have babies snatched away or send dreamers back for no reason. This is vindication for a lot of people who have really suffered. You know, the I can't breathe. You know, that wasn't just George Floyd. That was a lot of people that felt that they couldn't breathe. Every day you're waking up and you're getting these tweets and you just don't know, and you're going to the store and people who have been afraid to show their racism are getting nastier and nastier to you, and you're worried about your kids and you're worried about your sister. And can she just go to Walmart and get back into her car without somebody saying something to her? And you spent so much of your life energy just trying to hold it together. And this is a big deal for us just to be able to get some peace and have a chance for a reset. And the character of the country matters. And being a good man matters. You know, I just want my sons to look at this. Look at this. You know, it's easy to do it the cheap way and get away with stuff, but it comes back around. It comes back around, and it's a good day for this country. I'm sorry for the people who lost. For them, it's not a good day, but for a whole lot of people, it's a good day.
Last weekend, Emerson, who read the story for you today and who is 9 years old, was looking for ideas of what to do right now. I was slyly trying to get some work out of him, so I suggested that he rake up some leaves into a big pile and jump into them. I really put a lot of enthusiasm into my voice too. I thought I was really selling it. And he looked at me with world-weary eyes and he said with a sigh, "That's not really as fun as it looks." He's right, of course. It's really only fun for very small bodies. The bigger you get, the faster your body hits the ground under the leaves. You might now become more aware of being annoyed with the hidden twigs that jab you in the side. You might now realize how much the leaf mold is activating your allergies. This past weekend, post-Biden victory has felt like that for a lot of us. What used to feel really great when a candidate who upholds your values wins has become not as great as it used to be. Don't get me wrong, lawfully and democratically electing out the current president, who's been the antithesis of UU values for the last 4 years, it's pretty great. And that moment is tempered by a few things. For instance, Biden's first speech as president-elect called for this time to be a time of healing by reaching to the middle, essentially turning red and blue America into a purple country. Similarly, Unitarian transcendentalist Ralph Waldo Emerson told fellow Unitarians of his day, "This new day is too dear, with its hopes and invitations, to waste a moment on the yesterdays." Boy, wouldn't that be nice? Turn the corner and start fresh with a new healthy person at the helm. Be the better person, meet up in the middle. And for some folks, that's not a bad idea. Some folks who have a lot of privilege and security walking around in their particular bodies with their particular incomes, with their particular identities, are ready to rise above again and extend toward the middle purple, where maybe people will and maybe they won't extend to join us there. And there's Van Jones reacting on national television in his body, showing us with his emotions and his words why it might not be safe for Black and brown folks to reach for purple right now. Helping us to understand by stepping out of our country's long-standing unhealthy prohibition on men to show any emotion other than happiness or anger. Sometimes it's hard for white folks to truly understand what's at stake until it's right there in front of our faces. Jones's grief was also a gift to show us how to be right now. Last week, Rev Lo invited us to take our disenfranchised grief and to invite it in, to sit with it, to be with it, to have a safe place to lament, to reconstitute our world. And so I've been wondering all week, what world do we want to reconstitute? What is the goal here? We certainly cannot go back to the way things were for the last 4 years. I think that goes without saying. But it does bear saying, we can't go back to the way things were 4 years ago either. Things weren't so great for a lot of people. George Floyd and Breonna Taylor's lives were not the first Black and brown bodies lost in our country. The 1619 Project, a series of stories about the legacy left in our country by the first slave ship to land upon our shores 401 years ago, was so scary for some to examine that the president 2 months ago actually signed an executive order against teaching it and instead promoted more whitewashed history. This month marks the 400th anniversary of the first Thanksgiving, as Rev Lo told us earlier. And with it comes 4 centuries of grief and loss for the indigenous communities of this nation. The margins for voting America in this recent election, we all now know, were so slender. We are truly a nation divided. 4 years ago, people voted their frustration with the status quo and thought, let's try something different. Well, we got something different, all right. We got 4 years of strife and division and hanging out our dirty laundry for the whole world to see. And we all thought, surely now they will see, surely this will change at the voting booth. And it is terrifying that it didn't. Which tells me that unless we do something different this time, we'll be going through this again, not just 4 years from now, but every 4 years. Van Jones correctly addresses the other side, saying it wasn't a good day for some people. And he knows, we know what it feels like because so many of us were curled up into a ball 4 years ago in disbelief about our new reality. In a knee-jerk reaction to this election, Mitch McConnell's made statements about wanting to stymie everything that Biden wants to do, which is simply not a valid goal. I sat down this week with a good friend of mine who's been an excellent social worker in healthcare for many years. She helped me to know that Social Work 101 tells us to get a divided family talking about solutions. It's always about bringing family members back around to what is our common goal. And in those instances, the goal is to bring the ailing family member back to health and to do what is best for the ailing family member. So America is the ailing family member. America is in a hospital bed, literally and figuratively. The rest of the family needs a common goal. That's us and them. It's all of us on every side, trying to find goals on which we can agree. If you have ideas about the goals upon which you think America could agree, I invite you later to put them into the chat when we reopen it, or to email me sometime this week at intern@uueugene.org. I think the way forward is twofold. One, figure out the common goals that both fit our values and are also palatable for those who voted differently, somehow. And two, those among us who are relatively safe in our bodies, relatively safe financially, relatively safe in the world, just when we so desperately want to relax, take a minute to do that. And then it's time to step up. And if purple is the way to the common goal, we need to be the ones to forge that path. 2 years ago at General Assembly, the endowed Ware lecturer, that's our big guest speaker lecture, her name was Brittany Packett, who is, among other amazing things, a Black woman and a powerful speaker. And she underscored this point about whose turn it is to do some of the heavy lift. She asked us desperately to not just be an ally, but to be an accomplice, to take a turn, to not sink back into comfort and complacency. There is a time for everything under heaven, and our time for being wrapped in the interconnected web of which we are a part is right now. If there was ever a time for noticing the invisible strings that keep us connected, that time is now. Remember last time when UU churches all over the country saw a huge upsurge in newcomers in January of 2016? People seeking steadiness, seeking our principles in action, seeking sanctuary. This is the time for opening the door and showing those who need it most that they have a place at the table, at our table. 2020 has peeled back the curtain and showed us just who's been pulling the levers and how much we've allowed it to continue. Cornel West tells us that justice is what love looks like in public. Let us continue the work of loving in public, loving as accomplices our values, loving into some goals that change our way of being in this country, loving a place of sanctuary into existence for all who need it. May it be so.
As I read the joys and sorrows that have been put in the chat, I am aware that the need for sanctuary is so deep and so wide. And that 1 hour a week, or sometimes 1 hour and however many minutes, is such a small moment of sanctuary that we can be that for one another, and we need to be that for other people around us who may not have a Sunday morning place to go to lay it down. If we can offer and be to one another places of sanctuary for our hearts, it may be the first step moving forward to whatever the future may be. So may we go forth from this time truly learning to become and be sanctuary. May it be so. May your hearts be mended. Blessed be.
To everything, there is a season. Let us now go forth and feel the invisible thread that wraps us all as we turn our attention to the season of finding our common goals and working toward them. Surely, goodness and mercy will follow. Blessed be, may it be so.